Working for you.
WJCL News on top of two huge stories tonight. New details on an accused serial rapist now charged with murder and possible Ebola exposure in Beaufort County. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kevin Holmes.
And I'm Jennifer Andrews. We begin tonight. We have new information about Torrey Scott. He is accused of raping several women across Chatham County and now indicted for the murder of a Port Wentworth woman. Tonight, WJCL's Ashley Lincoln is working for you. She is getting answers after neighbors complained about being kept in the dark while a potentially violent man lived across the street.
And breaking today, two Beaufort County teachers being tested for Ebola after visiting Africa. This amidst the worst Ebola outbreak in world history and just days before students head back to school. Tonight we have in-depth coverage with everything you need to know.
That's right. Low Country Bureau Chief Larry Spruill talked to school district officials. He joins us now live in Beaufort with the very latest and tonight's top story. Larry?
Yeah, Mike, and actually I posted a question.
Well, Kevin and Jennifer, as of right now, the Beaufort County School District says no employees are showing signs of Ebola. Now, I talked to board chairman earlier today. He told WJCL that several teachers were in Africa this summer doing missionary work. But spokesman Jim Foster says they were tested before coming back here, but they are asking those teachers to make sure that they have no signs of the Ebola. They're asking them to kind of look over themselves as well and to get re-tested here. Now, he says this is just a precautionary measures for those teachers.
Before anyone can leave any of these 4 countries in Africa where the outbreak is taking place, they're screened. Then they're screened again at their connecting flights, usually in Europe, and they're screened again by U.S. Customs and Border Patrol when they come back here. So we're confident that they've been cleared by those screenings and we shouldn't have any problems.
Well, Kevin and Jennifer, but the spokesman Jim Foster told me that several parents have called his office showing concerns for this situation. That's why they are releasing a letter to those parents. Now, I had that letter, and I'll explain more of that letter coming up tonight at 6. But for now, reporting here live in Beaufort, I'm Larry Spruill, WJCL News, working for you.
Larry, thank you. So here's what you need to know about the Ebola virus. There's no vaccine or cure for this virus. Between 60 to 90% of those who catch it die, but Ebola doesn't spread easily. To get it, you have to come into direct contact with a sick person's bodily fluids. The incubation period for someone who's been exposed, somewhere between 2 to 21 days. Symptoms may include fever, diarrhea, and vomiting, but there is an experimental treatment being used right now. It previously was used only on monkeys. Dr. Brantley is the first human to receive the vaccine at Emory in Atlanta. It's a drug called ZMapp. Doctors say Brantley's recovery is miraculous. Within hours of vaccination, Brantley's condition took a dramatic turn for the better. This is the worst Ebola outbreak since the virus was discovered in 1976.
We are learning more details tonight about suspected serial rapist Torrey Scott. Yesterday, we brought to you his indictment in 3 rapes and the murder of a Port Wentworth woman. Well, neighbors shared their frustrations about what they call a lack of information from police. WJCL's Ashley Lincoln talked to the investigator who helped arrest Scott. And Ashley, what do you have to say?
Well, Jennifer, Port Wentworth Detective Brian Finney says public safety is their top priority. He says they didn't release all of the details in fear it would jeopardize the investigation. So we're going to go back to January 18th. Police say Torrey Scott strangled Lisa Penn to death in her Port Wentworth home, leaving her 6-year-old son to find her body. It wasn't until 2 months later, even though neighbors tell us Scott lived just 2 doors down when he was arrested. Sergeant Finney said when evidence started to unfold from all 3 cases, everything came together clearly, pointing towards Scott as the suspect. Because Scott was arrested in mid-March for the Savannah cases, he was no longer a danger to the public. Finney says it was around that same time he discovered evidence linking Scott to the Port Wentworth murder.
There was no hurry to rush to judgment of Mr. Scott because he was already incarcerated. So we felt it best for the investigation to keep those facts close to our chest.
He also states police fully understand the community's concern about them being kept in the dark, but due to Scott being in jail, he was no longer a danger to society. They wanted to release very little to the public in hopes to having a strong case against Scott in court. Now, we're also learning more about the woman that's being called Torrey Scott's girlfriend. She owns the house in Port Wentworth where Torrey Scott was staying. You're going to hear what we've learned about her on WJCL News at 6, Jennifer.
All right, interesting. Thanks, Ashley. Meantime,